If you live in London, you've probably passed this building many times. It's no longer in use, of course, but perhaps you've seen the initials and questioned what exactly do they mean. Maybe you've had a friend, relative or neighbour that's dragged on about a job they've had, recording random information for a purpose that was never explained to them. Welcome to the Department of TimeWar London. Established sometime in the early 20th century, this building stood until the early 1980s, though it had become heavily dilapidated by then. The department was set up to monitor and block traversers from attempting time travel. In its heyday, 1924 to 1965, it employed over 50 staff, mostly personnel involved in decoding and classification, though personnel were not fully informed of who or what they were monitoring. However, the Time War agents were the frontline operatives of this organisation, often selected for their fit to a particular scene and instructed by members of high command with aliases pertaining to dates or days of the week. Example, Mr. Thursday or Mr. Shrove Tuesday. A partner office was set up in Chicago in 1925 and is now too defunct. Whilst there has been no official proof of time travel, it was deemed necessary in both Great Britain and the United States to maintain a monitoring organisation to satisfy the public's interest of suspected time criminals. Those who have worked with this organisation have been sworn to secrecy, and those who have attempted to whistleblow on operations have not been able to substantiate their claims. A very rare and suspicious underground book titled The Traversers Book of Riddles was published in 1905 and details events up until the year 2058. For decades it was thought to be a work of fiction, but its highly accurate depictions of the decades that followed has now led many to believe this to be a history. Unfortunately, this was not realised until the year 1985, a few years after Time War's abandonment. The copy that has been photographed was said to have been destroyed, as is any documentation of its contents. No known copy is said to exist. It is rumoured that sometime in 1912, King George V funded the Department of Time War after a visit from his friend Lord Robert Wilmot Keel. Here Keel details relatively new happenings and soon-to-occur world events, including the Great War, going as far as to name start and end dates of the conflict. However, those who claim to have seen the book questioned its integrity. At first glance, the book looks like a hardcover publication of that era, but close inspection reveals a few irregularities. The font style seems to be a recreation from a much later date, as is the artwork. But we are talking of time travel here. It is possible the book could have been created sometime in the early 1980s and transported back. So why would somebody bother with trying to recreate a publication of an earlier era, when they could have just published something standard of the times it was produced in? And why would time criminals give it all away by detailing their crimes? Firstly, the book had to blend in with others, so as not to draw wide-scale attention. Secondly, these are traversers we are discussing here, riddle makers, daredevils who seek satisfaction from such games. I cannot reveal to you how many of these time criminals were caught in the last century, but I can tell you the wealth, know-how, and specialist agents amassed in this program did not always amount to success. The feature film, The Traversers Book of Riddles, set for release in 2025, features the first 3 chapters of this book that never existed.
Study, if you will, the fact that I am carrying this book, and that I do so with intense trepidation, for it is a very rare publication, frightfully rare, and ever so frightening. I will come straight to the point. This book details the history of the next 150 years. It is a journal of time travel.
We've been heavily surveying 2 traversers. Neither of them speak to each other during the day or in the evening, use the dog and bone, or talk to anyone, except during working hours. And yet they are communicating codes to one another. But how?
Mr. Foster, these bullets are intended for 2 time travelers.
You can't just lock them out?
Glass doors can't hold time travel.
I'm talking about the very worst kind of thief. One who snatches history.
And this book contains their secrets. Codes and all.
Oh no, sir. The author is too clever for that. Riddles. The man who wrote this did so with a sneer and a snicker. Time travel has become too easy. He wants to play with us. I implore your majesty, finance an agency devised to stop these scoundrels. If Great Britain cannot stop these rogues, then no one can.
Why should I care? In this timeline, I am king.
In this timeline, you are.
Dangerous business.